Hi, guys. I just want to talk to you for a moment. Something's going on at the city of Winnipeg right now, and it's wrong. It's a bad policy or bad policy in consideration, and I think Winnipeggers need to know about it. What I'm talking about is that the city is contemplating right now a growth fee, as they call it. It's a tax. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's a tax, and this would be a tax certainly on new homes. There's a possibility it will be also on apartment buildings or commercial buildings, and we don't really know for sure to what extent the city's going to look to roll this out. But here's the facts. Here's what we do know: the city has hired a consulting company named Hemson to do a report for them, and it's clear by looking at the preliminary report. The actual report hasn't been published yet, but based on the preliminary report, which I got a chance to see last week, it's clear that the intention here is to create a justification for bringing in this new tax. And we know the city is short on revenue right now. We know that the city's looking for ways to increase revenues, and that I can understand that. I think that the way that they're going about this is wrong. And let me kind of get to why, because here's what's really important. The reality is, you'll hear the mayor say things like growth has to pay for growth. And the implication there is that people who are buying new homes are somehow a leech on the taxpayer, that they're not paying their fair share. And the reality of it is that is totally nonsense. And I think that the city is relying on what people don't know about the process to sell this narrative that is just absolutely incorrect. So let's look at the reality. First of all, and when a person buys a new home, there is a tremendous amount of cost that's incurred that would fall under the category of government imposed charges. So, and then not all of that is city. There's also provincial and federal, and there's a variety of ways that the various levels of government get paid. But the Manitoba Home Builders Association put out a report and where they broke this down and showed that an average new home, $122,000, or roughly just over 27% of the cost, can be shown to be directly attributable to government imposed charges. So that's before ever seeing their first tax bill. There's a tremendous amount of money that they've paid for government imposed charges. The other thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is, they say, well, all these communities, they cost for roads and sewers and all of that stuff, but they don't realize that the developer pays those costs. So the way it works is you've got a developer that buys up a large chunk of unused land, and they put together a development plan and have to get it approved by the city, and they won't get it approved unless they've got a plan for putting in the roads and putting in the sewers, and once that plan is approved and the development is designed and built, and the infrastructure goes in, the lots are, and sometimes even before those roads have gone in, those lots are then sold off to builders, and individual builders will then, of course, sell the lots with a contract to build a house on it. So when somebody goes to buy a brand new home, the thing I think you need to understand is that those costs are built into the price of the new home, and there's a lot of expense. Those roads have already been paid for. The other thing is that property taxes tend to be quite high relative to the average when you look at this. So the property tax base is increased substantially by these new developments. Here's the thing, and I'll tell you, I've spoken with a number of councillors, and the thing that I keep pointing out, and I think it's important to understand so that we can understand what's wrong with the narrative that we're hearing from the city, is that when you look at the city's operating budget, one half of the city's operating budget, roughly, just about one half, is spent on emergency services. So we're talking fire, police, ambulance, and whatnot. And it's clear that these new developments are not high-level consumers of those services. those services are used far greater in the more mature communities in the core areas, and it's not to say that we shouldn't be paying for that, but it becomes disingenuous to say that buyers of new homes are leeching off of the taxpayer, when in actual fact it's clear that they're subsidizing. If you took a look at the cost of running the city and you broke it down on a curb by curb basis, so if you said, on average it costs every household, and that number's probably something in the neighborhood of around $1,800 a year or something like that. What that means is that if your property taxes are higher than that, then you're helping to subsidize somebody whose property taxes are lower. And again, this is the way we run things, and not to say that it shouldn't be that way, but it becomes problematic when then you take somebody who is effectively paying more than their fair share, and you say that they're not paying their fair share to cover the growth. It's disingenuous, and it's like I said, it's wrong. And right now the city is moving towards this additional tax, and if we could break down what the negative impact of that is, growth is important for me. And the reality is that you can't add a tax and assume it has no impact on the economy. It doesn't work. The money's got to come from somewhere. You don't just, if it were that easy, then why not just add $200,000 taxes, right, to every new home, and then we'll be the richest city in the world. But it obviously doesn't work that way. When you add a tax, there's a few things that are going to happen. First of all, you're going to reduce sales. I mean, it's if you own a taco stand and you increase the price of tacos, what's going to happen is you'll sell less tacos, and this is basic economics. The other thing that happens is it has a pulling up. If you raise the price of new homes by this artificial tax, it has a tendency to raise the pricing throughout the resale market as well, and it sort of it drags everything up. And one of the things that we've got going for us in Winnipeg has been for a long time has been housing affordability. It's one of our strongest selling points in Winnipeg, and why would we threaten that? I mean, the very notion of a growth fee seems crazy to me. Why would you put a tax on growth, the one thing that any responsible government should be encouraging, and you can't encourage that by taxing it. If you wanted people to drink more milk, you don't add a tax to milk. That just doesn't make sense. People will buy less milk because now it's more expensive, right? And so I want you guys to, if you've taken the time to watch this, then thank you. I want you guys to be aware that this is of what's going on here, because the city needs to hear that this is a bad idea, and I would encourage people to get a little active about this. Make a call to your city councilor, send an email to your city councilor, let them know that you're not in favor of a growth tax that's going to ultimately hurt growth in the city. I think this is important, and it's not something I don't normally post this kind of video, but I think that this is an important thing. So I hope that you'll have a voice in this matter. Thanks.